Hey, hi guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh yeah, same old, same old. Oh boy, guys, Harry and I have just been having a chat about free will. And I am now 1,000,000% certain that it's a psyop. Even though you and I, Harry, we made that podcast about the horse being in the middle of the field with a rope that would allow him to go to the extremes of the field, but he couldn't go over.
Yeah,
So we think we got free will. I can absolutely 100% guarantee you guys that that is the case with my own experiences that have happened to me. So I'm going to put something together when I get out of here, and Harry and I will do a podcast on it, Harry,
yeah.
because you found it quite intriguing yourself, didn't you?
Well, look, free will is the perception versus the reality. Okay.
Yeah,
They make
yeah.
it look like we have free will to keep us happy, to keep us content, not to be rambunctious and trying to shake the fence at all, shake the bars of the gate. So, yeah, we get what? Two party system, good, bad, black, white. We really don't have a choice. It's just whatever's in
It's the
front of you.
It's the perception of choice. Before we started recording, guys, I went and made a coffee. I could have made a cup of tea, right, Harry?
Yeah.
So I had that
You could have had a
perception of
shot
choice.
or a
Yeah.
shot or something.
Oh, mate, it's what? It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here.
Oh wait,
So
it's
yeah,
10:45 p.m. here, of course.
right. So yeah, it's the perception of choice when you actually think, right, I want to do this, and you go through all the motions to do it, and you can't. Always going to cost you money.
Yeah,
And this one cost me well over 1,000 US dollars. Um, and let me kind of put that in perspective, Harry, before we get going with the presentation. I think I mentioned this on the channel before, but it was a while ago now, a couple of years ago. On my way home from work, school, at like noon, and I'd been to the supermarket, and I got a shitload of shopping in the front. I don't mind showing you my little bike is my little mode of transport. Um, and I got a big bag of shopping, and I'm one block away from my apartment building, and I had this overwhelming gut feeling, voice in my head, whatever you want to call it. Don't take your bike up to the apartment. Now I was on the 15th floor back then, and I ignored it. And as I said, this is around noon. I went up with my bike. When I came out of the apartment to go back to work at 3 o'clock, the elevator, the lifts were down. They weren't working, right? So not only did I have to walk down the stairs, which is no biggie, I had to pay for a taxi to go from my apartment to work and then pay for a taxi to come back again. Had I left my bike downstairs, it wouldn't have been a problem. It wouldn't have cost me any money, right?
yeah.
So I think that the big takeaway from this, especially with what's happened to me over the last few weeks, is that if you ignore the signs, you ignore the signals, and you ignore the little voice inside your head, means you're ignoring your script. You're not supposed to do it right now, and it's going to cost you money.
You ignore your higher self,
Yeah,
you're gonna pay a price.
absolutely. Absolutely. And as I say, the story that I've got, I don't want to discuss it, guys, while I'm still in China, while I'm still here anyway. If that makes sense. But it's going to blow your fucking mind once I mean, like it not only blew my mind when I told Harry, it blew his mind as well. But when you've got people like Jason from Archaics and Logan from Decode Your Reality, shout out to both those guys, talking about what our free will is. Now I know. I can because the whole thing happened to me on. But the thing is, guys, there were multiple events that were all linked, right? They were kind of connected but not connected, but they were all linked together, and the whole thing just crashed.
Yeah,
The whole thing just crashed down because I'm not supposed to go right now. All right, so let's get into what you want to present,
yeah. Here,
brother.
let me get this going. And
we're going to be talking about another fallacy, guys. All connected to, well, pretty much everything that's going on and has been going on for the last 2 or 3 years.
All right. So yes, well, I named this poisoning.
Right. You're not sharing, Harry.
I'm not sharing.
No, you got to hit share screen. Sorry, I made
Yeah.
Harry the host. He's not normally used to doing this. Hit share screen and then hit your presentation. Yeah, there we go.
We don't want to see that.
No, we want to see the PPT. Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. So I named this poisoning because I want to talk a little bit about some of the reasons why our ability to cognitively function is so hampered. I said, well, obviously we're being poisoned. We know that. Water, food, air, radiation, a lot of the things that we are exposed to is a negative effect on our bodies. So are we poised to be taken over from within? That's the question that I'm posing to this. So when we think about how things are taken over, we think about infiltration. And what is infiltration? It's said to be the best way to take something down or take it over by the enemy. And usually it is from within.
Yeah, and that connects to water as well. Filtered water, right?
Yeah, sure does. A mole is a depiction of how we get inside of something, an organization, and we're either going to steal money or some kind of information that we really need. And if you do it from within, you're going to do it covertly. You're going to be inconspicuous. So why the mole? Why is the mole chosen as that animal? Because it's small, the mammal. It's adapted to a subterranean lifestyle, and it's got the right shape to do the job. And it's velvety, furry, very small, inconspicuous eyes and ears. So
when I was a kid growing up in the UK, we used to see mole hills, little mounds of earth that are dug out by moles. You see them all over the place back in the 70s. Crazy.
Yeah. So I think that they chose that animal because of the fact that it's inconspicuous. And if you want to get that job done, you have to look just like everyone else.
Yeah.
You can't have something like a red flag sticking up or sticking out. You have to be able to hide within the crowd. And that's exactly what's been happening. I mean, with all the, this demanding on this, and when we had that, these people look like they're trying to help us and they're trying to be good to us. But in reality, they're just hiding.
Yeah.
So we hear a lot about there's going to be shortages and there's going to be resources that we're not going to have. And, I find it kind of hard to believe that this is actually going to be true. But they use the word famine in most of these cases. And I really don't think it's going to be a famine in the way that we are told it's going to be.
No,
so
it's all fear.
Yeah. So I posed this as a question, and like you said, fear is one of their objectives. And even if they don't do anything, and they just scare people, that's half the job right there. So I said absence of food or abundant food, just with no nutrition in it. So
likely.
Yeah, I mean, what if you fill your stomach up and then you still die of malnutrition because there's really nothing in that food? And that's what we're experiencing today. Even with the supermarkets full and having abundance in the aisles, you're still paying for something and really not getting much for it. So if they, and I heard this on another podcast, I don't remember where, they is a good acronym for the hierarchy enslaving you.
Yeah.
So if they really want to take over, then there's no need to actually fight you or harm you. They just need to poise themselves within you. That kind of sounds parasitic. doesn't it?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
All right. So if they poise themselves in you, but how are they going to do it? Well, okay, poise in is really poison. So how are they poisoning us? We already said it. Air,
Mm.
water, food. In
Yeah.
the air, I put a chem 7 rails, which you know what
Hmm.
that means.
Yeah.
Can't really say that word without having a label put on the video.
Yeah.
Water has all of the following chemicals in it: acid, chlorine dioxide, hydrochloric acid, sodium bicarbonate. And then the food has the pesticides, the herbicides, the GMOs, the factory farming, antibiotics, anything that can make the food unhealthy for consumption. But the actual enemy is an outsider that's weaponized and then voluntarily invited in to the body. That sounds very vampiric or demonic to me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like
Yeah.
the J guy
Well,
too. You have to invite him in to your heart,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So unsuspectingly, these things from the outside coming in are going to harm the body. So I wanted to focus on the abundant food famine, like we were talking about.
Okay.
So what is famine? Well, famine, of course, means like you don't have any food.
Hmm.
So in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, 5 through chapter 6, verse 5 through 6, it talks about the black horse that's ridden by the third horseman. And he's depicted, if you look close to the picture, he has scales on his shoulder.
Hmm.
And those scales represent the balance. Uh, you weigh the pros and the cons on the balancing scales. And in the Greek, that scale is called zigon, and that means something that you weigh, but it
Hmm.
also means even, because
Oh, okay.
we're talking about evening uh, the both sides of that scale. So when he carries those scales, the thought that's evoked is that of weighing bread or a commodity, because when you think of bread, you think of sustenance, right?
Hmm.
So when you have bread or withholding of that sustenance, that would be painting a picture of something called the lawgiver or the Lord that pronounces the judgment on the people. And when it talks about in Revelation that the Jesus is going to come back and he's going to kill a lot of people with this judgment of famine. He's going to return and he's going to slaughter all those non-believers. So, does that sound to you, Nigel? I'm going to ask you personally. Does that sound like the true act of an unchanging and loving God?
Well, according to the Bible, yeah. But according to what we laughingly call reality, I mean, that's a rhetorical question. I mean, didn't the Jesus character say, I don't come to bring peace, but I bring a sword?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's all allegory. The whole biblical thing is allegory.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's a story, and if you think about it, it's not really that much different than a holographic image, because you have to create an image in your mind and to figure out what the story that's being told means. So that kind of proves that we live in a
Yeah.
simulation.
Well, we think in pictures, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
You know, if somebody mentions you, oh, Harry, the image that springs that comes to mind is what I'm looking at on the screen right now. It's not just a name.
Yeah.
um you know so
Right.
all right. So
Well, when we traditionally think of famine, we think of, the Dust Bowl, people waiting in lines, there's no food, and of course the children that are depicted from like Africa with all the uh, practically a
yeah,
skeleton.
yeah,
And
when I was that age, those kids were known as Biafrans.
mhm,
Now, I've never even heard of a country called Biafra, but they were called Biafrans for some reason. Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah.
But they all had the bloated bellies, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And that was in the, if I remember, 80s and 90s. That was a big moneymaker for a lot of
Oh God, yeah,
regions. And
yeah.
nowadays you don't hear about this anymore
No.
because it's past, that whole paradigm of trying to milk the people of their money. And of course they're probably siphoning out 99% of it, and it never gets
Well,
where it's supposed to.
that's what that old Live Aid concert was all about back in '85, wasn't it?
Another
You know.
sham, another
Oh
sham.
God, yeah, yeah, yeah. That was insane. But they got
Bob,
away with it. They
was
got
it
away with it.
Bob Geldof was his name?
Yeah. Mm. And Bono, the
Oh,
guy from U2. Yeah. They got. Yeah.
yep.
Anyway.
All right. So, like we said, the supermarkets are stocked. They're overflowing with food. I mean, but no, the sign above the produce, if you look at it real close, it says it's in Spanish and it says "Coma bien, vive bien," and that in Spanish means eat well, live well. But if you're going to a regular supermarket and eating what's on their shelves, that's not really possible.
No.
You're not
Bullshit.
gonna you're not gonna live well by eating what they're selling you.
No.
The whole goal is for them to convince you that
Yeah.
what you're eating is going to be good for you. But in reality, if it's made the way we know it's made, it's really just filling you up and poisoning you.
Yep.
So they are sticking it to you, is what I wrote down on that. Let me move this. And what do I mean by sticking it? Well, each of the fruits and vegetables in that supermarket are required, at least here in the United States, to have a sticker. And those stickers all start with either a 9, a 4, or an 8. And if you've never stopped to look at them, you'll see in the next couple of slides why the numbers really are important for you to pay attention to. So you'll see the organics all start with a 9. The conventionals are a 4, and the ones that start with an 8 are telling you, hey, we're genetically modified. Don't think any different.
Yep.
So here, on this chart, it shows you the natural versus the organic. You'd think, oh, natural. Aren't those the same? So in Genesis 2, you
Look at
hear
that number. Look at that number. 6 times 6 times 6. 216. Can't
2:16.
make it. Can't make it up, can you?
Yeah. And then God commanded. Again, why does he command? He shouldn't have to command. That Adam and Eve eat from all of the trees in the guarded den. Okay. So we're looking at the organic versus the natural. And if you look close, toxic pesticides, oh yeah, those are allowed in the natural. Antibiotics allowed. Growth
Yeah.
hormones allowed. Sludge
Yeah.
and irrigation.
Wow.
Animal welfare requirements? No. So
Wow.
you see the difference between organic and natural is night and day. So
Yeah.
this false god from Genesis 2 has a reason to include all and then disallow the tree of life, because that would make them, the Adam and Eve, both gods too if they ate from it. So it's not like that in the Genesis story. We're not seeing that these people that are being, in the guarded den, they're not really being poisoned by the food at this point. How are they being poisoned? They are not given the ability to be free and have free will, or at least have their eyes open to where they're really, inhabiting. So that tree of life being disallowed is what's causing them to eventually die. Because if you eat from the tree of life, you have eternal life.
Yep.
So we'll go on to, we're going to talk a little bit about the machinations of the digestive system. I have this book here that I've been reading, and I have a screenshot of it, but I just wanted to show it to you. This book here has it talks about the digestive system, and it's very complex. So I'll go into the rest of the presentation, but it's very crucial that people understand that what goes into the body has ramifications of what stays in there, how it functions, how it stops functioning, and so it's crucial that we start being more aware of how our systems work. And
Totally agree.
I bought this book online at a thrift bookstore online for just like $4. So
Wow.
it's incredible the information that's in there. So real quick, because the system's so complex in the digestive system, with just a few small imbalances, it'll throw out the entire system. And the program is designed by this false god to do just that. Why is organic superior to natural? Because it should be pronounced not your L.
Yeah.
Natural,
Natural,
not your
not
L.
your L.
He is blatantly telling you, eat from the natural because it'll kill you. He's not your God, okay?
Yeah.
He's the one that's created this environment that suits him and what he needs and what he desires, and could care less about your well-being because he looks at you, he looks down at you. He looks down at
I
you. He's
I wanna throw something in here,
sure.
right? Because this has been bugging me now for a while. The phrase you used, he could care less.
Yeah.
Now, when I was a kid, my dad used to use that all the time, but it was always I couldn't care less,
Yeah.
which makes sense, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do we say now? I don't give a fuck. I don't care, right? I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Now, I was listening to Sean on SGT Report the other day, and he said it, and I'm like, where has this phrase suddenly popped up from? Because you could care less means you can care less.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't care less means I couldn't care any less than I do now.
Yes.
Right? So, what do you remember, guys? Is this a sneaky little Mandela effect? I'm beginning to think it might be because I've heard this now so many times. And Harry, you've put it in this presentation, and
Yeah.
that phrase to me was always I couldn't care less. So,
Yeah.
it suits him and his needs, and he couldn't care less about the
Yeah.
well-being of his beasts. Makes more sense than could care less. But it seems to be the phrase that we use now. Yeah. Yeah. So be interesting to see what you guys think about
Sure
that. All
thing.
right, sorry, mate, but
Oh, no, no.
I had to throw that in. Yeah.
Well, if he couldn't care any less, well, why? Because he looks down and he says, "Hey, those are just beasts,"
Yeah.
right? So environmentally, the pollution, the time confusion, like the daylight savings time, and the introduction of the ment or the mind, like in government and advertisement, is a
Yeah.
mental mind control.
It,
These,
it made me laugh. It made me laugh. We did a podcast on it, but for those guys who haven't seen it, if you look at the word advertisement, it's got the word semen, SEMEN, right in the
yeah,
middle of it.
yeah, right
Just the
beside.
same, just the same as they've come up with this thing in the US now, Pride Month. Pride Month. It's got demon in it.
Yes,
PRIDEMONTH. Yeah, got demon in the middle. Yeah,
that's true. Very true.
crazy. Yeah. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Sorry,
No.
I'll shut up.
This god is establishing a biome that helps them thrive eternally.
Yep.
All right, that's the whole purpose.
Yep.
So there's that screenshot. It's called "Tissue Cleansing Through Bowel Management." The author's at the top. His name is Bernard Jensen, and he co-wrote it with Sylvia Bell. The bottom line is this doctor, he puts together a menu of how to go through a cleanse, with types of food, and he actually has some pictures in there that show people who suffered tremendously, their bodies and how they transform within just a week from changing their diet.
Wow.
Now, this book was written quite a while ago. I don't know the exact date because I just don't see the publishing date, but it must have been prior to a lot of the knowledge that we have today with regards to genetically modified foods and even the spraying in the air. But if you do follow his protocol, then you will definitely um, get improvements. So we'll move along. We got the 10-minute marker on the screen. So mind control. You've probably all seen that picture or that video of the snail that gets attacked by the parasitic worm.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that worm attacks the snail and makes the snail go to get it water, and then eventually, once it gets the water, it tells the snail to climb up the branch, and eventually a bird just eats the snail. So it's no different than how we will watch a programming on our TVs, our smartphones, and our computers, and then we'll decide, oh, I want to have my hair cut that way, or I'm going to wear that style. I'm gonna go to clubs real late at 1 in the morning and get into trouble. That parasite uses you and then puts you in harm's way.
Yep.
That's exactly what they want. And you can see that video on YouTube or any platform, mind control snail. And that is exactly how they are controlling us.
It's actually worth the time to watch. It's quite in a kind of a sick way. It's actually quite amusing, but
Yeah.
you can get a lot out of it. Yeah.
So the whole concept of the parasitic worm is to talk about how people can actually act as parasites as well. There's a really good movie that's a Korean foreign film, and it's called Parasite. And it's a story about, and I don't want to give you too much detail because it's such a good movie that I recommend everyone see it. So I'm not going to spoil it. But one family becomes parasitic, and then the other family becomes the host.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say any more than that. But one is going to take over the other, and it has to be a slow and methodical infiltration. That's how the mole works too.
Yeah.
It's an infiltration through the life and environment, and you can see the nourishment that the parasite gets from the host, and then eventually, when they're done with you, they just burst out of the chest like an alien.
Wow.
So,
I'll watch that. I'll watch that tonight.
yeah, you gotta watch it. It's really good. It's something that I definitely recommend.
Yeah. Just press the escape button and stop share. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff, bro.
I hope people got the idea of it's about taking action. If we can get some of these pollutants out of our system, stop drinking tap water, stop drinking bottled water, get only distilled water or distill your own. Try to eat organic as much as you can. One thing I don't do, I don't go out and eat at restaurants,
Normally.
pre-prepared places. I buy all my stuff. I prepare it myself.
Me too.
And then one of the other things that's so crucial is you can do the diet, like I said, that's in this book or something similar. But what I've done, and there's several protocols that I've done throughout the years, the last 5 years, to do detoxing.
Yeah, I've been doing that.
And I might just do a podcast one day with you, Nigel, and I'll just go through all the different protocols that I've done that have helped me, because it was the time that I started doing these cleanses that I started to kind of break away from my Christian paradigm. And
I've spent the last couple of months detoxing, and slow detox for probably the last, I don't know, I wouldn't know how many months. But when I went back to school after the holiday, it was amazing how many of the students were coming up and going, "My God, you've lost so much weight." Well, you've lost weight, and that was not by design. I didn't consider myself, "Oh, you're a fat twat. You got to lose some weight." It wasn't that mindset at all. It was purely and simply just detoxing.
Yeah.
I can go 2 days, maybe 3 days without any food whatsoever, just literally living on water. I put lemon in. I've got a bottle, I put not tap water, bottled water, with some fresh lemons, some turmeric, and a little bit of apple cider vinegar. And you just drink that for 2 or 3 days, and I just don't feel hungry. Here
Well,
in China, people go, "Have you eaten?" I go, "No." Well, why not? Why haven't you eaten? It's 1 o'clock. You're supposed to eat lunch at noon.
yeah,
Well, I'm not hungry, and they just don't get it.
no,
You know.
no. And the other thing too is that's crucial to understand is that when you are detoxing slowly every day, guess what you don't do? You never get really ill.
No,
You don't get
no,
the
no,
CV
no.
symptomatic
And
stuff.
another thing, I picked this up from Logan from Decode Your Reality. Big shout out to him. This is from probably well over a year ago. If you get some pink lake salt, right, and get a jar or a bottle with a lid,
Mhm.
put it in there with water, shake it all up, leave it overnight, and then every morning when you get up, before you even have a coffee, just take a sip. Yeah, a tablespoonful is enough. Yeah, not even a mouthful, half a mouthful.
Yeah.
Just take that first thing in the morning, and you will be amazed at what it does for you.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
So, all right, look, guys, we're gonna crash in like 3 minutes and
Yeah.
33 seconds. You can't
Well,
make
the
this
the
stuff up.
takeaway from this is if your insides are clean, this is this is going to be clean too.
Yep,
Eventually, you'll be
yep,
able to think better. You'll be aware. And what we always hammer this home. Action is what you got to do now. You got the
absolutely.
wisdom. You got
Yep.
to act on the knowledge. You got the
Nobody can do it for you.
knowledge,
Nobody can do it for you.
action, wisdom.
Mm. Oh, before we go, guys, I didn't bother doing a bumper, but I'll mention it. A couple of days ago, I did a little podcast with Kim, and we're going to do another one later on today. So, what I'll do, I'll put a link to her channel under here rather than the individual videos. So, if you want to go over there and have a look, the one that we're doing today is on the death of Robbie Coltrane, the actor from uh, oh God, what Harry Potter. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, all by the numbers. You wait till you see what we've come up with between us. The one that we just did was on language. Because we know a lot of you guys like it when we do something on language, but it was something that I sent to Kim, and she picked up on it, and she made a whole presentation on it, on what I'd sent her, and then sent it to me, and I added a few little bits, and then we did it together a couple of days ago. So that's certainly worth checking out. I'll leave a link to Kim's channel tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll put it in the pinned comments. So thanks again, guys. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for your love. Thanks for your well wishes. Wishing me I can get out of here. I'll tell you. I promise you. I will tell you when I get out of here.
Yeah.
I'll fill you all